on specific deals as well, there has, of course, been the announcement that Tata Motors has made with Uber, and that is a partnership that you will supply 25,000 EVs for the Uber fleet network. Are we likely to see similar sort of transactions, similar deals that you are working on currently? And if you can also lay out for us what the timelines will be in terms of being able to supply Uber with these 25,000 electric vehicles.
You know, see, fleet is a very interesting segment for electric mobility. As you know, even government has always set their vision to first electrify the fleet mobility services, because it helps in catering to more people who use one single car, and therefore it has a very good impact on the reduction of carbon footprint. And we are one of the only players in this segment who's providing cars in the electric vehicle segment. In this category, we have seen primarily the cars being used for employee transport by the MNCs and IT companies for ferrying their employees from home to office and vice versa, or the new age mobility services, e-hailing companies. You have seen our earlier MOUs with Blue Smart, EV Era, and these kind of companies. So there has been a decent level of business that we were already doing with these fleet operators. We would have about sold more than 5,000 cars already in this segment, and now we have signed an MOU with Uber, which is the biggest ride-hailing company, as we know, among the largest. So they have an intention of doing 25,000 cars. They don't buy, as you know, they mostly attach the cars, so they will be working with various fleet operators whom we also have a very deep relationship with, about 40-50 of such big fleet operators. And over a period of, I would say, 24 months to 30 months, they would be targeting to deploy these 25,000 vehicles. From a capacity perspective, we are absolutely fine. We can cater to at whatever rate the fleet segment would require us to supply.
Shailesh, you spoke about the fleet opportunity, but what about the replacement opportunity? The budget, for instance, had talked about the need for both the central government as well as incentivizing states to actually go in for replacing older vehicles. I would imagine that many would consider electric vehicles as possibly an option, but are there any active conversations on at either the state government level or the central government level in terms of the replacement opportunity? How do you foresee that opening up?
I think it's a very big opportunity. There are hundreds of thousands of vehicles in the government that are running, and we have had some initial conversations, and the mood that we saw was to replace these cars with electric cars, and therefore it's a big opportunity. I would say that it might take few more months before we get full clarity in terms of how this is going to really get implemented and enforced. And I think we should be able to comment on this in the next 3-4 months. But the intention of government clearly seems to be to move towards electric mobility as far as these replacement of these cars are concerned.
I understand that the conversations perhaps are preliminary at this point in time, but can you share with us any details on what the arrangement is likely to be? What we saw previously was the EESL move tenders, and we saw the problems that plagued that particular route and that particular tendering process. So what should we expect? Where do the conversations lie in terms of how this is going to pan out, how it's going to work?
Yeah, Shireen, so that part is still not clear. I think the earlier model of the government was to source it through ESL, through wet lease or dry lease both. But still, as far as what got announced in the union budget, this modality is still not clear. Certain, government departments at times, come with their own tenders. So we'll have to see. It might be a mix of both, possibly. Certain government departments might go with ESL, or they might float a tender on their own. We'll have to look and we'll have to wait and watch, I would say.
Okay, that's as far as the replacement opportunity is concerned. You said modality is still awaited from the central government. But Shailesh, let me understand from you what the challenges currently are in the marketplace that you observe. One, of course, is, as I pointed out, interest rates. Are you seeing that having a bearing on buying decisions as of today? Some of the other challenges with respect to semiconductor shortages, etc., have started to alleviate. So what to your mind, are the big challenges that you are factoring in or gearing up to face?
I would say that before FY23, the two financial years prior to that were a phase of great uncertainty, I would say. One was mostly on the supply side, where demand was extremely robust, but that supply-demand gap led to a lot of pent-up demand, and therefore there was a lot of urgency in the customers that we saw in that phase. As the supplies have been very stable in the last 1 year, I would say 4 quarters or 5 quarters, and now the cars, most of the regular cars, I would say, except for some of the very popular cars where still there is a waiting period, there's lack of urgency in the customers. So it takes more time to convert a car from an inquiry stage to retail. So that time seems to have got elongated a bit. There's lack of urgency. So that's one observation I would have. But the demand still remains strong. I would say demand level is strong. The time it takes to convert into retail has got a bit longer. On the supply side, as far as semiconductor is concerned, there were so many components which used to face shortages on semiconductor, and there was frantic buy of semiconductors from the open market distributors, paying premium for those semiconductors. I think that has got elevated a lot. There are only few components that you face problem even and often, and that's it. But broadly, I would say it is in control. Off late, there has been a stress in some 1 or 2 critical components, but so far we have not got impacted. Let us see how things would be in April, but at least for March we don't see any issue. But April we'll have to continue and watch for those 3-4 critical components, I would say.
Okay, so there needs to be a watchful eye, a vigil as far as 3-4 semiconductor components are concerned. But Shailesh, before I let you go, Q3 numbers swinging back into profits after 7 quarters. Do you believe that you're going to be able to continue to build on that performance, both in terms of profitability and margins?
I'm sure. I think, also all the 3 businesses in Tata Motors, commercial vehicle, passenger vehicle, India, as well as JLR, all are doing well. The semiconductor crisis, which was really impacting JLR a lot, that is also seeing improvements. So broadly, I think we should be able to sustain and improve from here is what I would imagine. But we have to be cautiously watching on the supply side also.
All right, Shailesh Chandra, we will leave it there. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18 on the record. Thanks very much for your time. Congratulations once again on the 5 million milestone, and we wish you and your team at Tata Motors the very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Shri.
Well, that's it then on this edition of On the Record. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.